Boitumelo, thank you very much for joining us today off the clock, and hopefully you'll be able to be off the clock. I mean, I know your job is quite energy-sapping. It's very controversial at times and at best exciting, because it's all about saving lives and making the difference. So me and Tlati here are going to, stay off the clock with you today and get to know you better, just in terms of, what do you do off that fire work that you do every day.
Thank you for joining us today. Privileged to have you, our first lady here, adding that feminine touch. First of all, do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I've got a 12-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy.
So how's your relationship like with your children? Obviously a very busy lady, but also I'm sure you're a mother first and the job comes second. How does that work with you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they'll say I'm a mother first if you were to ask them. I think, and I don't think my husband will agree also at times, I think you juggle things, right? So my approach is, when I'm in the moment to be a mother, I'm a mother. And when I'm the CEO, I'm the CEO. So there are instances wherein I probably don't play the mother role very well because I'm not in the moment being a mom, right? So I try to, there's no balance, but I try to make sure that I show up in all these roles, as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, and all of that.
Okay, do you find sometimes like the CEO and the mother role overlap or anything?
I wouldn't say overlap. I think there are times where your character just shows up in that way, wherein, and I think when you're authentic, what people would say about me at work is probably what my kids and my husband will say. I'm very firm. I like to get things done. I like order. I like people being on time, those types of things. So the things that people say at work about me, my children will probably say the same, but in a context of their mother.
I'm sure you'll agree that there's some level of feminist that's required, and I've seen you in action, by the way, that required when you deal with those difficult issues and questions. But when you're at home, you're probably kind of a baby feminist, not,
Yeah. No, certainly, and you mentioned being intentional about it, and I think that's at the core. I think especially for a mom, I always say, by the time I leave the house to go drop them off at school, there's so much that I've thought about you just constantly required to play these multiple roles. But certainly you try to not be, when you're home, you try to relax. Home must be home. And I think that's what COVID kind of took away from the home environment, working under lockdown, that
Put
you
the
would
work
be
in it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't, draw lines. You're in the health space, how busy we were. You'd be in meetings 9 o'clock, 10 p.m. and it's like, you don't even have dinner with your family. So blurring that line for me, I think it's what I didn't appreciate about COVID, because you do need the line. And home must be home, right? It must be where you relax. It must be where you just, take off all the guards and just, so for me, I think that I'm only probably able to do at home, because at work, you're on a mission.
I see that you cycle as well. Can you brag about your experiences?
I can't brag. I don't think I'm as good as some of these guys. Man, when they ride past you, it's like you're a snail, right? No, I do it, and I'm happy with where I am. I'm not trying to achieve anything grand. It's just to stay sane, right? And what I love about it is you're in your own space, So for me, it's my me time. After a long, crazy day at work, just hitting that indoor at the gym, you sweat it all out, you walk out, and you just feel so much better. So I cycle, I run. So tomorrow I'm running the Exaro 21K.
Okay, running?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I swim. So I do triathlons, my husband and I. So I'm training for a triathlon in November in Mossel Bay.
Wow.
So it's just to kind of keep going, and keep sane.
Okay, swim, cycle, run. That's all right on its own.
It's the Iron Lady, the Iron Man.
What other things do you do to either have fun and wind down or just get your me time?
So before I answer that, when I think on cycling, I mean, there's such a big female running community. Sometimes we do these coffee rides where, we go out, do a short ride, chill, have coffee as ladies. So that's always beautiful. But the other thing I enjoy is reading. That certainly de-stresses me also. And it's just good to sit after a long day, especially on weekends, just sit, cup of coffee, glass of wine, a good book, just in your own space. And I've got very good and very close relationships with my girlfriends. So we go out a lot, dinners, lunches, So just, again, being in a very different role, right? Wherein you relax. You don't have to make decisions about what people are going to have for dinner or is their school uniform sorted. You just relax
Just
with
yourself,
your girls. Yeah.
So what type of books do you like reading then?
So I like biographies, which at times can be intense. So now I thought I'd taken a break, but I found myself gravitating again to that one. So what I'm reading now is, I just came from Kigali 2-3 weeks ago. And, the Rwanda story is an impressive story.
Powerful.
It's a very impressive story. So I'm very fascinated about Paul Kagame as a person and what he's been able to achieve, him and the people of his country. So I'm reading a book authored by, one of the Rwandans who was born in exile. And they're talking to a priest who was in Rwanda during the genocide. And they talk about forgiveness. So it's got a beautiful kind of spiritual element to it, but also the biographical side of it, which is what actually happened then in Rwanda. So, I'm Christian, and I always kind of reflect on how, as a Christian, we deal with some of the things that we experience in life.
There's nothing on the bucket list that you're like, I still have to try.
We're planning a few things, but I wouldn't say kind of bucket list I always say I had, and maybe it just demonstrates how not adventurous I am. I had the best time in varsity. You leave home. So I grew up in Soweto and my parents were very strict and I was the first child. So for me, going to varsity was like that freedom, right? So I did all manner of things at varsity. When I was at school, we didn't go clubbing, no drinking, nothing. So you get to varsity, you explore all of that. But I think my personality, it's one that is, I've done bungee jumping, etc. And actually I went with Koto, my husband, who at the time was courting me. And I was like, well, if you really like me, we're going to go jumping together. So when he did. And 15 years later.
I'm pretty sure that almost like any other guy might have scared him away.
It's a deal breaker.
No, that's when I was like, this is the guy that I'm going to marry. Like, if he's willing to jump for me, he's literally going to jump all the time, right?
So it looks like, you're living good life. You're in a better place mentally. But I've never seen you this relaxed. The interactions that I had with you wearing the CEO cap has been very tough lady, vicious, taking no prisoners type. Do you have any stress? If you do, how do you deal with it?
No, I've got lots of stress. You would know in these roles of ours. And I think you learn to manage it, right? So I'm a big proponent of showing up in the moment for what the moment requires, right? So when I'm here, I am here.
Okay.
Right, and I'm fully here, and I'm loving this experience. And when I have to be Iron Lady, I have to be Iron Lady. There's times when I feel like I've been more of an Iron Lady at SAHPRA than I would like to be.
Bringing the A game.
Yeah, like I don't think it's it's certainly a strength I have. I know how to do that. That's how I get things done. But I think I'm becoming too much of an Iron Lady, right? And so when I have moments to just relax and not be that, I love that. I always say when I go home, and my dad is late now, but I'd always love going home because then I can be, he used to call me Nana. I can be Nana.
So really used to be daddy's girl,
I wasn't
right?
daddy's girl, interestingly. My sister is and was, and I was always the responsible one, but
So the big sister.
the big sister. But I still felt I can be a child at home. You know, I don't always have to make decisions. I can just be. So I remember in the heat of COVID and when things were just tough, I'll just go home and be like, I'm just going to spend the night at home.
Wow, sounds
Because
very
I
cheesy
just-
though.
I know, but it helped, eh? And just be home and like give one up back and not have to make big decisions.
So I mean, even if you're denying it, I mean, sound like you had a very tight and close relationship with your dad.
He had my back, you know. And you know, I'll always miss this about
I
him.
can
that
see your body language changes when you talk about him.
Yeah,
It's like
he had my back.
deep connection.
Yeah. He would always speak a positive word into my life. He would always pray for me. So, you know, you leave home and you feel like, I got this, I can face the world, you know. So it was always beautiful. So yeah, I battle still. In his last days, he had cancer. So in his last days, actually the last time he was at home, he was lying in their bed sick. And I still struggle to go into their bedroom.
Oof.
And it's been a year plus now. And it's because for me, he was my anchor. And seeing him in that moment when he was weak, you know what cancer does to people. I can't reconcile the two. You know, I say to my sister, I don't, when I think of my dad, I don't remember him ill. The first memories of him are him being well. Because I couldn't reconcile my anchor being that weak.
Wow. Maybe a follow-up question and then on Tatsu you'll carry on. How do you sleep? I mean, do you sleep well?
I mean, to a point, so I mean, I can fall asleep, but man, I wake up. You know, those crazy hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and Kotso doesn't battle with sleep. It doesn't matter how stressed he is at work. You know, so I'm always alone. So there's no one to be like, oh, let's have a conversation, let's grab a cup of tea. He's gone. So I would be alone. And yeah, I mean, to a point where I'm with Discovery and, you know, you do these vitality checks and my cholesterol was high. And I'm like, I'm so active, how can it be high? And it's because of lack of sleep. So I always have a set of sleeping pills with me because I've resolved that why put myself through that when there is something that can help me
That's
to
a
relax.
solution, yeah.
And because I do need to switch off. So I don't switch off mentally. I would wake up sometimes, especially during COVID, I would wake up and I feel so tired because I've been trying to solve something while I was sleeping. It's a lot better now, but I generally, I'm not one who has, yeah.
Are you able to tell us what keeps you awake?
What keeps me awake? I mean, in most instances, when I battle, it's typically work. Having, I mean, you would know, Peter, having to make, there's so much that needs to get done.
New regulations.
And you know, at times, things move at a very slow pace as a regulator. And, you know, there's times when I feel like I wish things could just move a lot quicker because And I always say this to my team, that coming from an R&D environment, and maybe just how I think about things, I always think about the decisions that we make, they impact my mom, my sister. So if I take long in making a regulatory decision on a medicine, I'm affecting my mom.
Wow.
If I take long in making, decision on a medical device, I'm affecting a family member. And so I think that's what keeps me awake, to say the work we do, we shouldn't only look at it as just, the nuts and bolts of it. The impact, is that real for me?
I mean, growing up, did you always know you're going to be what you are today? Or was it like a meandering
Not
path?
a chance. Not a chance. So my parents always remind me. And so my dad was very traditional. So he believed in Badimu. So we grew up, every year there would be a family thing, Rilo Pasa Badimu. That's how we grew up. And you always ask them, so things go well. And so they always remind me that I'd always say, Kebatloba doctor. I don't have memories of that.
When they were talking to the ancestors,
when we're talking
tell
to,
them,
yeah.
do me, what do you want to be?
Yes.
Like doctor,
I'd always
all
say,
the time.
I want to be a doctor. Make way for me so I can be that. And I guess then it was there, right? Because I was always, so there was a time when I toyed around doing medicine, but I had this amazing teacher in grade 8, Miss Hebe, and she was teaching us biology. And it fascinated me. At that point, that's when we were learning about genes and chromosomes and, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to understand how diseases come about. And that's when I decided, no, I'm not going to do medicine. I don't want to treat the disease, but I want to know how the disease comes about. And then interestingly, I applied to TUT. At the time, I think it was Tshwane Technikon or something, yes.
University of Technology.
And I also applied to University of Pretoria. I didn't get into Tshwane, into TUT. I got into the University of Pretoria, which was probably the best thing ever, because then I could do my degree in genetics. And yeah, the rest is history. But I've always been fascinated in the how of diseases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the career paths and all that, you don't think you could have been something else? You don't ever see that one profession saying, I could probably do that, or something else looks interesting that says, like if this part didn't work out for me, I could have, besides the doctor thing.
Yeah. No, I think whenever I think about, if it's always medicine, that, if I could, I probably would have done it. That's the one, but I don't have any other. I do feel like I'm enjoying what I'm doing. This is what I want to be. I'm really blessed, because I know many people are not in a position where they're like, my career path led to something that I do enjoy. But I think what has offered that for me is the variety. So one thing I've known is, as much as I've got my PhD, whatever, I didn't want to stay in academia.
Yeah.
I was always interested in how can what I do have impact. And so, always looking at like translational science. And so one of the reasons I took the job with the regulator, I thought I could impact access to products. And yeah, that's what it's been about. So I acknowledge that I am blessed to be in a point where I feel like I'm in the right career for me.
Do you ever get reminded of that? Because, because I know you've expressed that it's a very powerful position that you're in many ways than one. And the fact that you're able to articulate the impact down to your mother, your brother, your uncle, it shows that you understand that at a personal level. But do you ever get reminded of that, because being a regulator, I mean, it's like, you know, being the governor of the bank,
Yeah.
but in the health side of things.
Yeah.
You know.
And all the time, and this is why I think I don't fit the kind of box of a regulator. And it's probably a good thing for SAHPRA now, considering, you know, we're still being established, etc. Because I always think of impact. We were having a discussion in our strat session about 2 weeks ago, and I keep reminding my team around Section 21 and the impact that, you know, before a product is registered, someone can access their medicine at a much lower cost. The minute it's registered, it skyrockets, right? And for me, it's a fundamental problem that I have, that why can we not do something about that as a regulator, right? And so for me, it is what keeps me here. It is what keeps me going, the fact that there is this tangible impact to what it is that we do. Yeah, so those are some of the personal struggles that I have, you know, being in a regulatory space, because on the other side, you do want to be very stringent as a regulator, because you also don't want to allow products that could cause harm. I've been watching a fascinating series now on Netflix called Painkiller. So I do make time for that. And it's about, you know, a drug, oxycodone, that, you know, obviously parts of it are true, parts of it are fictional, but you just see how the regulator handled that, and, you know, kind of weighing the benefit risk, right? So you always also want to make sure that you consider the safety of the public, because it's not always black and white.
The
right?
upside, there's always downside.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you go to movies? Do you watch movies? Do you have a favorite all-time movie that you...
So I used to go to movies a lot, and lately not as much, especially... I think there was just so much available on these other platforms that going to the movies was like, then it must be like a big blockbuster. But my all-time favorite is Matrix. The Matrix is, I mean, some airlines still have it. You know, when you travel, and I remember
they put all
earlier in the year, I watched all three. I was traveling, I can't remember
library
when.
of all the movies from all time.
Exactly. So it remains to be, and it's fascinating. And you can apply it even to the current context. So that for me, I must say, it's my all-time favorite. But yeah, lately when I go to movies, I take kids to movies.
So you have to... Your thoughts around AI, artificial intelligence stuff, fourth industrial revolution, in your space, do you see the role for it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, any leader that doesn't find a role for it even, I think you're going to lag behind. In our sector, I mean, just from a farmer perspective, one of the things that we're exploring is, you know, having to, instead of sending our inspectors to India to inspect manufacturing facilities, looking at a digital interface, right? It's going to save us a lot of money and a lot of time to travel, you know, because when our team travels there, etc. And actually, we piloted something, you know, during COVID. So I think there's a opportunity there. We're seeing pharma using it in how they manufacture. So we have to make sure that as a regulator, we stay abreast of how are they utilizing it, right? In our context, there's a small project. So that's pharma. Let me talk medical devices. Then I think in medical devices, I was saying to my team, even our recruitment strategy is going to have to change.
Wow.
Because those are the people, I mean, we're going to have to bring in these AI data analysts, software engineers, etc., into the regulatory space. And my concern is, do we have enough of them in South Africa? And even if they are there, they probably have not been exposed to the regulation element of medical devices that wherein AI is integral, to them. So there's a whole kind of rethinking of our recruitment and our skills base for medical devices, that this whole AI and software in medical devices is completely turning things around. And I was saying to my team, because it's such a new area for us, we have to use this opportunity to do things differently with medical devices. It's not, it's and the rate of change also, it's so fast, right?
Yeah,
in
it
space.
is fast and
It's just
furious.
so exciting, but nerve-wracking in the sense that, are we going to get the right skills to enable us to effectively regulate? From an internal perspective, we're starting some projects around, how we use AI to be more intelligent with how we work, like from a triaging, where you can triage an application to say, does it go this route or that route? I mean, at the moment we're using, what we call admin screeners. But why can't you put something on a system, on a tool that will screen it? And as you feed it with more information, it becomes more intelligent, right? Exciting times. Are we ready for it as a regulator? I don't think so.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for finally giving us a feminine touch to Off the Clock. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. We hope you will come back again.
I'm sure there's a whole queue of other females that are waiting, so please bring them on board. I think as females, we bring a nuance to the leadership space. That for me, I'm very intentional about bringing that diversity into the room, but also bringing the femininity into leadership. And so please have more and more females, and it will make your program even richer when you have all these different perspectives.
Thank you very much. We're working very hard on putting color to the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.